I'm Lewis Martin, here today with a 5250T bale bearing, talking about the spacer bar setup and the importance of the spacer bar. First, what is the spacer bar? It's this mechanical device here located above the turntable. Its job is to direct bales into the injector one at a time as to prevent pinching in the injector. The spacer bar pivots freely and it has a stop both when it's all the way, when this front shoe is all the way up, as well as when it's all the way down. So if we measure the spacer bar, you'll see at the back here, we've got 15 inches between the table and the back of the spacer bar here. And what that's for is when there's a bale waiting to go in the injector, this can't go down lower than the top of the bale, and the next bale will stop at this front shoe here. If you're in the field and you want to make sure that the spacer bar is set correctly, you take two bales, push the first bale underneath the spacer bar so that this part of the spacer bar is resting down on the top of the bale, and then take the second bale and push it into the front shoe right like that. If we can push the front bale underneath this front shoe, that means that this here setting is too high, and it'll allow more than one bale to pass into the injector area, and you'll have the bale pinch. You'll notice here that the spacer bar is adjustable. There's a series of holes on the front shoe. And we have a total of 4 more adjustment holes to be able to take this front shoe up. When would you do that? If you have the bale passing underneath the shoe and this shoe is grabbing the top of the bale, then you'd be too low, you'd have to take it up. But as long as when the spacer bar is pivoted in this position, so this is up as high as it can go and the bale is not interfering, then you are not too low. The reason why we want this bale waiting at this here position is you'll notice the full length of this bale has to make it beyond this edge before this bale can start moving. That means that this bale is into the injector area against the stop paddle, and the injector has pushed the bale past before this bale has made it around and gotten into the injector area. That prevents pinching of the bales. If the spacer bar is set too high and this bale can simultaneously go into the injector, you will have this bale get pinched off in the injector area and you'll have a broken bale in the pack. The other adjustment you'll notice on the spacer bar is there's a mounting bracket here where the spacer bar bolts to the machine. And you'll see 2 holes that aren't being used above the spacer bar assembly. The reason why these holes exist would be as if you're picking up bales that are made behind an 1842 Heston baler or equivalent that makes a bale that's 16 inches tall rather than 14, then we need to take this entire spacer bar up 2 inches to accommodate for that. If you're dealing with bales that are 14 inches tall, 18 inches in width, the spacer bar assembly needs to be bolted to the lowest adjustment on the machine. The other thing you'll notice is the front shoe on the spacer bar is spring loaded, and that just gives it a little bit of forgiveness when there's bales being forced into the front shoe. We can adjust the tension of this spring by tightening or loosening the eyelet. The other thing that this spacer bar works as is a bale over length tattletale device. So we take a tape measure and we measure from this part of the spacer bar to here. You'll notice that we're 35 inches from here to there. And what that means is if you have a bale that's over length, which we have just got a bale that's too long here, to purposely show you why that does not work. So what you'll see in the field is you'll see a bale get hung up in this area and it can't physically pass underneath the spacer bar no matter how hard you push it. That means that this bale is longer than the bale that can fit into the chamber. So the maximum length of bale that you want to go into the machine is 36 inches. Anything longer than that will get hung up in the spacer bar at this position. Rather than try to force it through, the correct thing to do is take this bale out, set it aside, because if we push it through, it's just going to cut it off with the injector. I think a common Misconception here would be if you have bales hanging up here, you would then raise the front part of the spacer bar up to allow the long bales to go in, but then you end up with broken bales in the bundles, and you end up with sloppy looking bales. So the right fix here is to shorten your bale length up so that you're under 35 inches, ideally 32, and that spacer bar is going to work correctly.